Never mind.
Good like.
I haven't heard yet. I'm assuming there was.
See, it happened. But it was. Very,
Oh, really?
Yeah. When I was there, it was never. Ryan's doing.
And.
Actually, that's the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they were kind of stereotyped.
Yeah, I'm trying to resist it.
Okay.
It's just written all over.
Maybe nervous.
Now we good?
We had
I know.
They shield.
Yeah.
You're allowed to enter, it's like urban.
Executive committee? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the CFO, eval. It'll be straightforward.
Okay.
We had to tell people, they would get mad. We're working on it, so people, you gotta change.
I'm not gonna find that out.
Yeah. Unless it was happening at the check-in, so you walk in the door, there's a dude on the right. And then you go around the curtain, so the dude on the right is not stopping. There were a bunch of people behind me. I didn't hear any discussion there.
Yeah, that's my bad in the
Yeah,
car,
I was curious about that, so you cannot. You
Make a
cannot-
decision and change, that's what they were asking to do.
Yeah, I mean, I saw some.
Make this-
But maybe that's a revision. Yeah, it was, okay, so she's made her.
Clearly trying to pressure back in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I mean, one guy that got so mad, I mean, his was.
All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning. Morning.
Happy Thursday and happy fall. Was not ready for the 37 degrees this morning. But glad got to see everyone here today. We'll go ahead and get the meeting called to order. And I believe we have a quorum. So good. If we'd like to just move into the moment of silence, and I'll say, Corey, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Oh,
Yeah.
Silence for.
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We don't have anyone that's signed up for public comment, so we'll move on. I'd like to recognize Scott.
Good morning.
Today is my honor to present the Ambassador Award, an award that represents the very best of who we are as a company in our community. At Carta, we strive to shape the future of mobility, fuel Chattanooga's economic engine, connect our communities, and empower lives. But these ambitious goals are not just ideas we talk about, they're principles that our employees bring to life every day. And this Ambassador Award celebrates that. Today, we have the privilege of recognizing an individual who exemplifies these values in everything she does. This month's Ambassador Award goes to one of our bus operators, Ms. Terrell Barnes, seated in the back. Terrell, stand up. Terrell has been with Carta for 6.5 years, and her story is a testament to how one person's kindness and compassion can make a profound impact on the lives of others. A few weeks ago, Terrell was telling me about how she'd been helping a young man who rides her bus. He'd been incarcerated for some time and was struggling to reintegrate into society. I won't share his name out of respect for his privacy, but I will share the words he posted on social media about Terrell. He said, This woman is an angel in human form, and she helped me get through one of the lowest times in my life. And as she would take me to work every night. Pray for her safety as she travels and her protection as she comes across all walks of life. Pardon me. I asked Terrell what he meant by help me through one of the lowest times, and she explained that she offered him advice on how, even though he was facing challenges, he had to keep striving. And she counseled him on how to reconnect with his children and how important those bonds were while he was in transitional housing. She also brought him food and coffee, offering a simple but meaningful gesture of care. He once shared that it had been 10 years since he'd had restaurant food when Terrell had given him a hamburger she'd purchased. This isn't the only example of Terrell's compassion. She's also given her lunch to unsheltered people she encounters downtown after seeing them search through the garbage for food. Time and again, Terrell shows us that caring for others is something she lives by, and she takes action when she sees an opportunity to make a difference. For all those reasons, and because she's a valued member of our Carta Bus operator team, we're incredibly proud to present the Ambassador Award to Ms. Terrell Barnes. Her actions remind us of the importance of empathy, service, and going above and beyond for others. Terrell, we thank you for your work and we appreciate your heart. Please join me in congratulating her as she comes forward to accept this award.
May I take a photo?
Thank Terrell.
Thank
There we
All
go.
Yes, there.
Thank you.
You know, the minutes were sent out ahead of the meeting. If I could just get a motion to approve the minutes if we're in agreement that there's no changes needed to be made.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
There's no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Mr. Frazier, over to your report.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Vice Chair Freeman, Board of Directors, Carta employees, and of course, the public and our guests. Thank you for being here. I'm pleased to update you this month with several key initiatives and partnerships that are helping Carta to strengthen its relationship in the Chattanooga community. And as we focus on fixing our foundation and advancing transit in our city, we're seeing some significant progress in engagement, collaboration, and some small but impactful service improvements. So first, I'm happy to share with you that I have been invited to participate in Hamilton County Schools Leadership Program. This is a year-long engagement that connects community leaders directly with Hamilton County schools. We had our first of 11 monthly meetings, and it's already been a highly productive experience for me. It's giving me a deeper understanding of both the successes and the challenges that the school district is facing and the students on a day-to-day basis. I'm also learning very much about their 2030 strategic plan, which is very aggressive. This program is helping to forge a bond between Carta and the school district, and I see some real potential for future partnerships that could help public schools excel. Related to this effort, Scott Wilson and I have met with Hamilton County school representatives who have presented to Carta several transportation opportunities that we are evaluating. And there may be some opportunities to stand up some pilot programs, getting kids to after-school events and even parents to after-school meetings with teachers. And so we're looking at those and we'll bring those back to the board. But these efforts directly support our fiscal year 2025 focus areas of funding and partnerships and community engagement. Moving on, oops, one too many. Next, we've launched 2 new bus wraps in collaboration with the city of Chattanooga. The first wrap is a joint effort between Carta and the city's HR departments aimed at promoting careers in public service. And this is a 50-50 partnership that highlights the importance of public service and encourages new recruits to consider it as a career. The second wrap celebrates the city's new brand identity, which was launched with great fanfare last month. And seeing that design on the side of the bus really brings it to life. And it's a great example of our strong partnership with the city. If you did not see it on the way in, we have one of the buses out in the parking lot. I think that you can see for yourself, it's really eye-catching. And so we're excited to get these on the road, and it's a great partnership with the city. So this effort directly supports our 2025 focus areas of both funding and partnerships and marketing communications. Next up, Incline Railway. We've been working very hard to improve infrastructure at both the upper and lower stations. You can see here in the middle picture, the scaffolding has been staged to start to address the cement and rebar structure itself. And some of that work is being done while we're open. And so in fact, the second picture on the bottom there, you can see it's very crowded at the top station. Took that picture 2 weeks ago during the fall break, and so just packed up there. So it's good to see people still using the system. We will be building the ADA restroom and refurbishing the covered area at the lower station when we close next month, November 4th through the 15th. So those are exciting. When it's all said and done, the facility will look neat and tidy. And of importance, we will have addressed an open item on our TDOT risk mitigation list. So that can come off of our to-do list. We also had a productive meeting with the city and representatives from the Chattanooga Neighborhood Enterprise, CNE, as well as local St. Elmo residents to revisit a development concept that was presented to CARTA several years ago, but was shelved at that time. The concept is utilizing some parts of the 3 acres of land at the bottom station for enhanced parking, retail space, and even some affordable housing units. And while there's nothing concrete to report just yet, there is a tremendous potential for smart development of this area. And it sparked interest not only amongst the professional, the developers, but also the public as well. And so I'll keep the board briefed on any significant movement on this project. We've also updated and recorded informational scripts for the incline, which I think I sent to the board. These now play up and down during the trip. Mayor Kelly has agreed also to record a greeting for passengers, and I'd like to invite members of the board to also participate as well. And so I can imagine maybe we have a dual language, so maybe in Spanish, or if Director Standifer wanted to explain that we have ADA accessible vehicles. I think it'd be great if any of you are interested in also recording a welcome message, and we can just kind of rotate it into the playlist. And so if you are interested, please let me know. And this work really supports 3 areas of our focus areas. It's the Incline Railway itself, its facilities, and making sure that we're focusing on the state of good repair, and then also community engagement. Next up, our partnership with the UTC Honors Program continues to thrive. Recently, we took students on our first transit tour of this fiscal year, showcasing everything from the electric shuttle program to the incline to the challenges we face with the lack of a downtown transit center. The students rode one of our all-electric buses all through the downtown, and Chattanooga and the staff narrated many aspects of the program. So you can see some of the photos there. They've got the tour guide systems on, and they're wearing, and staff is narrating them through almost a 2-hour tour of the system. And so the feedback from Dr. Jordan King, who directs the program, has been extremely positive. He surveyed the students before and after this interaction, and the difference in their view of CARTA is really quite astonishing. He shared those survey results. And what began with some negative perceptions of CARTA in general has now evolved into something that's much more informed and a positive outlook on what we do. And so we're excited to continue this partnership. Dr. King will be here next month at the board meeting to introduce himself to the board and share with you some of the projects that the students are working on. And so this work is focused in the areas of funding and partnerships and community engagement. Next up, I've been involved with the Midtown Connect nonprofit organization where I serve on the executive committee. And so this is part of Carol Burz's district. And we finalized plans for CARTA to be a part of their Fall Family Fest block party on October 28th. We'll feature a wrapped bus for the Touch a Truck portion of the event. And we'll be leveraging the very successful Read and Ride program to help get folks to the event. We've coined this the Read and Ride Trick or Trial. CARTA will be offering fare-free trips on the fixed route service for students and their families after 3 p.m. on October 28th. And so it's similar to our Read and Ride program, but for this event, there's no need for the students to show their library card. So it gives them an opportunity to try out the Read and Ride program. And this is a great way to get some advertisement out there before we formally bring to the board a proposal next month to make this a permanent fare change in our system. And just for your information, to date, as of yesterday, we are now have provided nearly 7,500 student trips in the program. So we're continuing to see that growth and use. Many days on the week, we see over 100 trips on a single day. So students continuing to use the service. Next, we are excited about a potential new program and partnership with Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. And those of you that don't know, the Imagination Library, the focus is getting books into hands of children. And so recently we explored the idea of hosting mobile libraries on CARTA buses, which could be a fantastic way to make reading more accessible to children in the Tennessee Valley. This pilot program is still in the early stages. They've been out to see the buses a couple of times, see where they can safely install the small buses, which are, concepts are pictured in the bottom right. But this is a great opportunity. Dolly Parton Imagination Library is also considering a fully wrapped bus to help promote the program throughout the year. And lastly, I did want to update you on our contract negotiations with the Amalgamated Transit Union. I was just looking for President Strickland. Good morning. While we don't have an agreement in place yet, President Strickland and I have started meeting regularly outside of the formal process to address day-to-day issues and make sure that we have open lines of communication. This recurring labor management collaborative really has been productive, and we plan to continue this beyond contract negotiations. For some specificity for the board, the union has presented us with some compelling options, which we are now costing out and hope to get some information back to them either today or the first part of next week. But again, this is, again, we haven't reached an agreement, but we do feel like we are headed in the right direction. And so wanted to give you that update. And this concludes my report, Mr. Vice Chair, for the day, and happy to take any questions from the board.
Charles, you mentioned the UTC group's perceptions changed.
Yes.
What were some of the misperceptions that they had at the beginning that might have changed since they might be common to other people around the city?
Yeah, I think that they, a couple things that come to mind. Number one, many of them not aware that we even owned and operated the Incline Railway. So just not being aware of that service, number one. Number two, that we didn't really have much skin in the game or put much care or time into our transit services. I think that the perception is that we are just running this and not thinking about it. But now that they've been able to ride the system, so the UTC students already ride fare free with their cards. So as part of their class, they've been out, they've been riding the shuttles, they've been riding the system, and then through us narrating and actually explaining things like the fiscal cliff, the challenges that we face with funding and not being able to put all of the necessary service on the road that we would like to put, not being able to have new vehicles, not being able to have all the shelters that we would like to have, the infrastructure challenges. So I think just being aware that this is a governmental agency, that we need support. They've really started to learn that this is a community need for them to play and start to bring attention to this very valuable service. The other thing I heard was just the valuable success that we have every single day, providing access to opportunity. That's getting kids to school, getting people to medical appointments, getting people to jobs. I think that they were just unaware of the impact that we have on a day-to-day basis.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions?
The transit tour, is
Yes.
that something that is offered that I would like to, I would love to be a part of that. I
Absolutely.
don't know if that's something that's just offered all the time, or if that was just done for the student.
Now, so allow me to just kind of give a thought here. So as we put together the fiscal year 2025 focus areas, there's 24 areas there. In that plan, we have put in community engagement as one of the areas. And one of those tactics is to bring awareness to CARTA and the services that we provide. And one of the ways that we'll do that is through transit tours. That's us using the big buses and engaging with groups of people. And it could be nonprofit organization, it could be students, it could be city council members, it could be the MPO. And really literally educating people about what we do, what our limits are. The answer is yes, the board should, and we invite you to participate in all of these. We'll make sure that you know when they're taking place. The other thing that's adjacent that I want you to be aware of, it's under the focus area of funding and partnerships, is a windshield tour. Windshield tours are a little bit more intimate. They're not on the big bus. It's gonna be in a smaller vehicle, and this is gonna be very targeted. So for example, we wanna go with individual city council members and individual county commissioners and spend time with them driving around their districts. And number one, educating them about the services, parking, transit that we have in their district, share ridership numbers with them, but also giving those elected officials the opportunity to tell us, here are some opportunities for a service that you might, that we should provide. Here's a new development that's taking place. Here's a large employer that I see. Here's some unmet needs. So both of those things will make sure that the board is aware of so that you can participate as your schedule allows.
Perfect. Thank you.
You bet.
Yeah, thank you, Charles, and you've been busy, continue to be busy, and appreciate all your hard work.
Thank you, sir.
Going over to our consent agenda, I turn it over to Sonia for the financial report.
Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, if I could, the consent agenda, what we have is we put the reports in the packet as a consent item. So we generally, the change that we made is we don't go through the presentation unless one of the board members would like us to. We're happy to go through each one, but generally we were looking for an approval of the three items all at once. No problem. For your consideration.
So with that, unless anyone has questions, we'll vote to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, if there's no discussion, all in favor, say aye. If there's any opposed. Consent agenda passes. Down to action items and the financial audit. So turn over you.
Yes. Good morning, Vice Chair, Directors, Mr. Frazier, employees, guests, and public. I will be reviewing items 9A and 9B, which is our annual financial audit and the meeting expenditure policy with corresponding agenda items that are in your packet. The first item, 9A, on page 18, the financial audit memo, will have the auditors, Malden and Jenkins, presenting their report, and we will be recommending that the board approve CARTA's financial audit report for the year ending June 30th. Mr. James Spence is here with us from Malden Jenkins, and subsequent to his review of the report, we'll ask you for that approval. You're in agreement with that. This action will align with CARTA's strategic imperatives of fiscal accountability, efficiency, and transparency. Approval of this item will allow CARTA to submit and publish the audit to meet the requirements of federal, state, and local municipalities. Sound business and management practices deem it necessary to ensure public resources are managed responsibly, operations are transparent, and public trust is maintained. As a quasi-governmental entity, CARTA is required to engage in our annual audit in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted in the U.S. and standards applicable to financial audits contained in government auditing standards issued by the Comptroller General of the United States in the Yellow Book of Audit. The audit firm is required to be independent of CARTA and to meet other ethical responsibilities in accordance with the relevant ethical requirements relating to our audit. The Yellow Book has a long and evolving history that reflects the increasing complexity and importance of government auditing. It remains a vital resource for auditors, ensuring that government entities are held accountable for their use of public funds and that their operations are conducted efficiently and effectively. The procurement overview relating to our audit is an RFP, request for proposal, was issued on March 1st of 21 for auditing services. The invitation to bid formally closed on August 13th of 21 and 3 proposals were submitted. The 5-year contract was procured through this process as defined in CARTA's purchasing policy, and our contract expires in 25 when it will be put back out to bid. The fiscal impact for the year 24, you approved the fiscal year budget 24 budget, which included 28,000 for auditing service for this fiscal year. Okay, this concludes my report, and I'm available to answer any questions you may have. You will probably reserve those questions for Mr. Vince, and if you would just come up and you all have a hard copy of the audit there in front of you, as well as an electronic copy. Sending. So thank you.
Thank you, Simon. Well, good morning, Vice Chair, members of the board. My name is James Spence. I'm a partner with Malden and Jenkins. You have 2 documents before you. One is your financial statement. That's the heavier document. That's management's prepared this. And that's what we were contracted to audit. And then the smaller document is what I'm going to go through. I'm not going to read every page to you, but certainly if there's anything in here that I do skip over that you want to look at, please let me know and we'll go back. So just to kind of jump in and on page 2, just to highlight Malden and Jenkins and who we are, maybe to give some comfort on who your auditor is. We are a large regional firm. We have 13 offices in 6 different states. Your audit is conducted here out of our Chattanooga office, and I served as the engagement partner. I've been with the firm for 21 years now, and I work 100% with local governments. So this is kind of what I live and breathe. All of our audits have a quality control reviewer by an independent partner with our firm. And this year, we do rotate that. This year, Will Durzis provided that review for us. And so that just helps, Sandra threw out a lot of formal big words with what the standards that we follow. But under Yellow Book, we do want to make sure that we maintain a non-biased relationship. And so we have that quality control reviewer to make sure that even though I may have been the lead on the job, that I didn't look over or skip over anything that the standards require. On page 4, again, just to reiterate what was just mentioned, our responsibility as your external audit firm is to issue an opinion as to whether or not the financial statements are materially correct as presented by. And so we do that by auditing in accordance with government auditing standards as well as generally accepted auditing standards. That means, again, because we're given an opinion as to whether or not they're materially correct, we don't provide absolute assurance or we don't provide transactions. Again, that's what the standards require, and obviously the cost to have someone audit 100% of your transactions would not be the money. Our opinion that we did issue was an unmodified opinion. It's a clean opinion. That's the one you have received in the past and what you strive to receive each year, stating that the financial statements as prepared by management were materially correct as presented to us. On page 5, we've got 5 and 6, so just a few high-level excerpts from your financial statement just to kind of go over the results. Again, we're looking at June 30, 2024, and we've got the 2 prior fiscal years as comparison here. And so you'll see this last year, the change in that position at the bottom was a negative number, about 4.4 million. A lot of that is driven by the last couple of years. We've had some really nice heavy injections from ARPA and CARES dollars for transit systems. And so those funding sources have now been consumed. We're going back to, instead of being 100% funded by federal grants, we're going back to the standard 50% funding that we historically, before the pandemic set in, lived under. And so, you'll see there the big drop in the capital contributions. A lot of that is a decrease in the debt CARES funding, as well as last year, we actually had a very high amount of capital acquisitions with some new buses and equipment being purchased last year, which is funded at a higher percentage than operating costs. And so it's a big drop, but keep in mind, it's probably, we had a 5-6 year chart on here. It's kind of back down to where your capital numbers typically were before the pandemic. And so maybe a more true operating picture of the transit system. You'll see here the operating expenses were a slight increase from last year. That had a lot to do with, again, in line with the budgeted numbers, but we had a 4% increase in our union contract costs, and we've had some cost decreases as it relates to fuel costs and maintenance cleaning costs that we had heightened during the pandemic from having to have more routes run and separation. So overall, fairly consistent on our operating expenses. You'll see here one item to just point out because it kind of gets buried in there. The passenger fares are fairly consistent with some increase over the last couple of years. In that number is about 3.3 to 3.4 million of incline revenues. And so not all of that is fixed route riders, but that is users of our system. On page 6, we have our cash flow summary here. And so right in the middle, you'll kind of see what I just mentioned on the decreases in the capital side. Last year, we had about close to $13 million of new acquisitions for the system, down to about $2.5 million this year. And so that decrease of our cash flow for the purchases is also reflected in the decrease of our capital reimbursements there. Again, federal funding for those kind of mirrors the outflow. So on page 7, just to kind of highlight some of our reports that we issue in the financial statements, we do have a yellow book report, which is what we have to issue to identify any material weaknesses that we might have identified in the internal controls related to our financial audit. And I am happy to report we did not have any material weaknesses to report in the June 30, 2024 audit as it relates to the financial statements. As you would expect with transit systems, you do expend more than $750,000 in federal funds who are required to have a single audit. So anytime an entity expends more than $750,000 in federal funding, they're required to have an audit, a compliance audit and control audit of those type A programs. And so for you all, we audit the federal transit cluster, and we issued on that an unmodified opinion with no material weaknesses in the internal controls as it relates to compliance with the federal transit cluster program. I will skip over to page 10. And I do want to just acknowledge the quick turnaround that you all have on your audit side. You know, we're presenting the information. I believe we started the audit here in early September and getting reports out. So I am very appreciative of management's assistance and participation. Anyone who's never been through an audit, we ask for a whole list of information. As we start to audit that information, we have questions, we ask for more support. So it is an interruption in management's day-to-day activities. We certainly acknowledge it and appreciate the time that management has put into getting our requests fulfilled in order to allow us to complete the audit in the timeline we need. So I am appreciative and I do want to acknowledge management's efforts in this process. On page 11, we did have 2 small adjustments for this year's audit. One, I do want to point out and just bring to your attention because it is new in your financial statement. So as you read through and you look at some of the numbers on your balance sheet, you'll notice this year there's a new OPEB plan. And so CARTA at the end of last fiscal year elected to participate in the state's managed local government other post-employment benefit plan. Now that plan runs a year in arrears, how it showed up in your financial statements. And so now rolling into your financial statements and had to be incorporated into your numbers this year as part of the audit because it is a new plan for the system. And so overall, it's in there. Your current liability related to that plan is $92,000. And it works very much like your other pension and OPEB plan if you currently have, in that the actuaries estimate what the liability is for the future costs of this plan. And over time, you'll pay those benefits. It is an unfunded plan, which is very typical for other post-employment benefit plans. And so you all are just paying the benefits annually as they come due for that participation. So we'll go last item to touch on, starting on page 14 for a couple of pages. We've got our new GASB standards. And so as a quasi governmental entity, you all do report in accordance with Governmental Accounting Standards Board GASB statements. The good news is the last couple of years have kind of been tough on management and implementing a couple of new standards dealing with leases and SABITA subscription-based information technology arrangements. Those are all up behind us. GASB's actually slowed down, so the couple new standards that we have coming out over the next few years are in here, but they're not expected to have a significant impact to Carta's financials. However, just to let you know, we do work with management throughout the year to make sure these are not surprises when we get to the end of the fiscal year on what's due. But we do want to make sure that these are available for you all as the decision-making body, because obviously what may or may not be applicable today could change in the future based on decisions you want to make. So we certainly want to make sure you have the information available. Skipping over to page 17. I think I mentioned this each year, but just as a reminder and for anyone new, for all of our clients, we do offer virtual CPE on a quarterly basis, so continuing education. We do that by just getting you to send us your email address. We'll send you a link at each quarter of what our topic is, and if you're interested in a topic for free, you can register and attend for that session on a quarterly basis. We do that each quarter of the year. No management participates in it, but we certainly want to make sure that governing bodies are aware that that's an option. If you are interested in any of the accounting topics and or just need some continuing education classes, we're happy to include you. So if you're not currently receiving that, please let Sonia know. She can connect. She can provide your contact information to me, and I will get you signed up for that. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you all may have. But I appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you, James. Sir, are there any questions?
Go back to that, when you talked about the leases,
Yes, ma'am.
were you saying that you have to go back and look at it, or I guess I'm missing it? I read what was on page 13 about the leases, but I'm just trying to make sure have we already put that in practice?
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to make sure.
So those were put in place in 22, I believe. And for your June 30, 2022 audit, the adjustment that's on, I'm not sure what page, on page 13 was just an adjustment in the way that is being amortized. And so there was an error in the spreadsheet calculating the amortization that happens each year of that lease. And so we had to adjust the books to reflect the amortization in accordance with straight line amortization. So it's accounted for. It was just an adjustment in the amount being recognized during the current year.
Okay.
What that entailed in 22 was I reviewed all of our existing contracts to make sure or to recognize if any fell within that particular criteria, and we only had one that fell in that criteria, which was our River City lease. So that's the only contract that we are amortizing.
And now that we have a better idea of contracts that are in play, you can.
Yes,
See it,
yes,
understanding.
yes, that was a good educational experience. 22, because it was.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm that. That's not the question I had.
There's nothing else, James. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk about the audit.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, we need a motion for approval of the financial audit.
You want to make a
Motion that we approve.
second? There's no discussion. All in favor? There's any opposed? Financial audit. Thank you, Charles and Sonia, for
Thank
being
you.
timely and responsive on that, and having a clean audit.
Thank you, James.
So it's great. Next up, back to you, Sonia, on the meeting expenditure policy.
Um. The meeting expenditure policy will contain a recommendation that the board approve this expenditure policy. It's agenda item 9B and is in pages 19, 20, and 21. We did review this in detail with the executive committee and had some good feedback and made some adjustments as a result of that meeting. It aligns with Carter's strategic imperatives of fiscal accountability, efficiency, and transparency. Approval of this item will allow Carter to document the meeting expenditure policy to establish guidelines for expenditures related to meetings, ensuring responsible use of resources while promoting productive and efficient gatherings. The policy guidelines identify the following: the definition of meetings, budget approval, our allowable expenses, which include venue costs, caterings, materials, and any associated travel. A big portion of the policy has limits of expenditures, which limits internal meetings to $250. Employee appreciation gatherings at $25 per person. And upon the recognition of going over that $25 per employee or person, we will bring it back to the board for approval. External meetings are based upon budget and scope of meetings. The policy also includes documentation requirements, non-allowable expenses, which are personal items or services, alcoholic beverages, or gifts or incentives for participants. It includes a cancellation policy, review and compliance, and responsibilities within each department of the request for the meeting. It formalizes our meeting expenditure policy that is crucial to manage cost, ensure accountability, and maintain transparency in the handling of funds related to meetings and events that historically did not exist. In addition to your board memo, you have the actual policy that's detailed in your packet. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer those.
Do you have any questions or comments? Great, with that, I've got, have a motion to approve the expenditure.
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Sorry.
For the safety plan, Charles, did you have it?
We have Daniel.
Oh,
Yeah. Thanks. Good morning, Board of Directors, members of the staff and public. My name is Daniel Collins. I'm the Director of Safety and Training for CARTA. Today I'm here to discuss the Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan Revision 5 update. Staff recommends that the board approve CARTA's Agency Safety Plan Revision 5 effective at the time of approval, following approval of the Joint Management Labor Committee, or the IIJA Committee. On this note, I am pleased to notify you that the IIJA Committee did approve this on the 10th of this month, or the 9th of this month. For us to move forward, which is a requirement, it has to go to them first. This action aligns with CARTA's fiscal year 2025 focus area of promoting safety throughout the organization through safety policy, safety mitigation, and continuous improvement. Approval of this action item will allow CARTA to meet federal oversight requirements through ongoing revision and requirement of the agency safety plan in accordance with 49 CFR 673. The agency safety plan has been updated to reflect changes provided by the FTA and our partners at TDOT. These changes include clarification of the accountable executive's responsibilities in the policy statement, with language directly from 49 CFR 673 being added for TDOT. The safety management policy itself was updated with formatting. The IIJA committee
signing authority signature line was added to the agency safety plan. The purpose of that line was to provide the frontline workers more of a voice in the approval process, so it documents their approval of the agency safety plan prior to it coming to the board of directors. Safety performance targets were added. TDOT cap language added to 2.3. This describes the process for immediate corrective actions being done in emergencies. The concurrences page was removed. Roadway worker protection reference was added, where the SOP was added as a reference item in the agency safety plan. Risk identification resources were updated to include TDOT inspections as well as our own. Table titles were updated to reflect data shifting throughout the plan. Additional reporting agencies, including the NTSB, National Transportation Safety Board, and the Federal Railroad Administration, were also added as reporting agencies to the plan. The organizational chart was updated into the plan. The emergency preparedness plan, the title was changed within the plan to reflect the actual title of the document. My title, Director of Safety and Security, was changed throughout the document for TDOT to Chief Safety Officer to reflect their guidance. Definitions were changed and updated per FTA. The red line copy has been provided with your packets, I believe. To give you some background and history, 49 CFR 673 is a regulation under the Code of Federal Regulations that pertains to the Federal Transit Administration, or FTA, and its requirements for the Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan. It was established to improve safety across public transportation systems in the United States, following the need for more robust safety management practices. The CARTA Board of Directors first approved the CARTA Agency Safety Plan August 20th of 2020 and was updated to reflect the organization's needs each year. Revision 4 of the Agency Safety Plan, currently standing, was approved by the CARTA Board of Directors on January 25th of 2024. Some key milestones. The regulation emerged from a broader push for enhanced safety for public transit in 2012 with the Moving Ahead for Progress, or MAP 21. The final rule was published July of 2019. Implementation, the transit agencies were required to establish their plans by July 20th of 2020, leading to the adoption of safety practices and more structured approaches to safety oversight in public transit. Ongoing updates, the FDA continues to provide guidance and resources to help agencies comply with regulations, ensuring safety plans remain effective and relevant. And I'm available for questions.
Any questions for Dave?
No questions. I just wanted to comment how thankful I am for this comprehensive update, and especially as I look at like more granularly at the goals that we have for pedestrian collisions and all of those being zero. Like the goal is zero, and I can't stress enough how important it is that we move public transit forward at being the safest form of public transportation that we've got out there. It is dangerous on the roads these days. If you're a driver, if you're a pedestrian, if you're a cyclist, we're seeing those incidents pick up, and investments in public transportation go such a long way in public safety. And I can't think enough my operators when I ride that I know a professional is behind the wheel, and I just feel so much safer. I can zone out and connect to Wi-Fi and watch YouTube or whatever it is I want to do, and not have to be distracted. So thank you so much for your work on this, and thank you to the entire organization for moving public safety forward.
I second that comment, right on the money.
Thank you. Would like to get the board's approval on the plan.
We do have, if I may, Mr. Vice Chair, we have a slightly modified motion. We're looking for you to do two things, both approve the updated plan and authorize the chair and or vice chair to sign saying that you have approved it. It's a little bit of a ticky requirement from TDOT, but we need both approvals, please.
All right, entertain a motion for that.
I so moved on both approvals.
Second.
1 second.
There's no discussion, all in favor? All right, there's no opposed, the motion carries. Danny, thank you so much for.
Thank you, Dan.
Can I get your autograph?
Yep. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. All right, moving on to our next item. We have a lot of actions there. Get any.
Good morning, Vice Chairman Freeman, Board of Directors, Carter colleagues, Mr. Frazier, and the public. I'll provide an update today on the board resolution shown on pages 75 to 77 in your. Staff recommends that the board approve the board resolution 607 and 608. Section aligns with Carter's strategic imperatives of fiscal accountability and compliance. Carter recently applied for funds from Public Entity Partners Property Conservation Grant and also intends to apply for funds from the James L. Richardson Grant. Both of these grants require the submittal of a board resolution authorizing the grant application and commitment of the 50% matching. For the property conservation grant, Carter applied for emergency lighting upgrades at 6 facilities in the amount of $5,995. 50% is to be reimbursed by PEP, or Public Entity Partners. Eligible projects for the James L. Richardson Driver Training Grant are instructor-led training, DVD training, backup camera and alarms, GPS tracking systems, alert systems to administrators, and motor vehicle record checks. Or is finalizing what will be applied for. Grants are due by October 25th. Again, staff recommends that the board approve board resolution 607 and 608. That concludes my presentation, and if you have any questions, we'll be able to answer.
Just to be clear, this, because the amounts are small, but this organization for us to qualify would have to have a board resolution.
That's correct.
So, go for that. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second, there's no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
There are no opposed, that resolution approves. And on to new business, we'll talk about the mobile ticketing.
Well, good morning again, Vice Chairman Freeman, Board Directors, Carter colleagues, Mr. Frazier, and the public. If I could direct you to page 78, I'll be providing an update on a mobile ticketing pilot that Carter is working to implement. This project aligns with Carter's FY 2025 focus areas of information technology, improving the use of technology resources, and customer service, improving the customer experience. So this short-term pilot will offer Carter riders access to another method of payment as staff complete Title VI analysis and community engagement for the replacement or removal of fare boxes on board Carter buses. Carter riders will be able to purchase mobile tickets for fixed route, Car2Go, and caravan services. Carter has also discussed integration with Cash App, with Token Transit, and intends to include this in the mobile ticketing pilot deployment. Carter expects to be able to implement this offering in November and will work with Token Transit on developing training and customer engagement materials. Costs are estimated at approximately $26,000 for the first year, assuming a rider adoption rate of 15%. There is an onboarding fee of $2,500 and an ongoing annual fee of $20. Integration with Cash App is estimated at $10,000 for the first year. And the Carter will be charged based on the use of mobile ticketing by riders. Fees include 10% of the gross total transaction proceeds for any transactions $2 and greater, and 0.6 cents plus 7% of the gross total transaction proceeds for any transactions less than $2. Carter riders will set up accounts through the app and put their payment information in. Once a ticket is activated, a visible timer shows on the rider's cell phone. Carter's drivers are responsible for ensuring that the timer is showing appropriately and counting the rider through Carter's fare box. This concludes my update. If there are any questions, happy to take them.
Do you have any questions?
Just a comment, I'm glad to see that we are integrated with Cash App, because I believe that a lot of individuals have that. And with this first pilot, whether we stick with this or look at whatever in the future, it will start getting people kind of used to using this and having a electronic payment, and then from there, I think they'll explore other ones. So I'm glad to see that, and I appreciate you pulling this together for us to have a pilot.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you again for finding this kind of inexpensive bridge solution as we move forward with technology, like. This is gonna make a lot of people really happy. This is one of the top questions I've gotten since I've been here, is when are we gonna do this? Like, a lot of people that wanna ride and they just don't always have cash on them, and I think this opens a lot of doors for accessibility. And hopefully open a lot of minds as to how fantastic this service can be when they have the opportunity to use it, so I appreciate you.
How is this gonna be publicized?
I think once we get kind of the details from Token Transit, I'll work with Veronica and her team on pushing it out for our customers.
What's timeline for training for the driver?
For training. It'll be between now and November when we implement. So once we kind of sign off with Token Transit, we can get those details together.
If I may add a comment just for the board, I think two things. Number one, thank you for the kudos on this. We're happy to implement this pilot because it's relatively low tech. There's no hardware that we need to install on the buses. And for the training for the operators, all they need to do is just observe it. And the transaction will still be on the fare box itself, so they just observe. And the reason we went with this very low tech is we want to be able to provide in quick time a benefit to the community and to our riders without disrupting the work that we're doing on fixing the foundation of our other technology services. We're not ready to integrate something. So that's why it's kind of this technology light solution. So we appreciate that, this is something that you would support, and thank you for your comments on the Cash App. Many of our riders we know are unbanked, and so this Cash App integration, I think, is critical for the success and for our community to be able to have that. So thank you for those comments as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On the agenda, do you have any old business?
Not old business, but I did want to make one correction, especially for Hannah while she's here. I had made a misstatement on the date in my report for the Midtown Connect Fall Family Fest Block Party. It's on October 26th, not 28th. And so the afternoon of the 26th is when we will have the read and ride trick or trial, which will be the fare free for students after 3 p.m. So I just wanted to make sure that that date is accurately reflected in any news media that catches that. Thank you.
There's no more old business. Well, before we move to adjournment, I just want to again thank Charles, thank you. And thank all of the Carter team. You guys have been doing a great job just being responsive to the board and serving our community and helping those that need it the most. And it's just been great to work with all of you. So just want to commend you and thank you on that. With that, our meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
We'll go for board, we'll go on and take executive session. So if you don't want to stay around for a little bit.